Hi, this is Steve Cook. Let me ask you a question. When you put money into your 401k, 403b, or your IRA, what do you think you're doing? Now, most people would say, I'm investing. I'm saving for retirement. I'm being responsible. Mhm. That's what I thought too. For years, I believed exactly the same thing. Then one evening in 2001, everything changed. I was sitting at my kitchen table. I had recently lost my job during the dot-com crash. A few days earlier, I'd received a check from my retirement account, about $38,000. Inside the envelope was a prospectus showing the history of my account. Now, at first, I wasn't paying much attention. I was just flipping through the pages. Then I noticed something. As I worked backward, through the report, the numbers started getting larger, much larger. I kept turning the pages and turning pages and turning pages. Then I saw it. At one point, my retirement account had been worth more than $128,000. I just sat there staring at it. Then I started moving forward through the pages. And that's when I watched it happen. Thousands of dollars disappeared. Page after page, month after month. The account rose and then the account fell. The account rose, then the account fell. And suddenly a thought entered my mind that changed my life forever. I wasn't saving for retirement. I was straight up gambling. Now, I know some people don't like that word, gambling. It makes people uncomfortable. But think about it. If you put your money into something and you don't know what it'll be worth tomorrow, next year, or even 10 years from now, what exactly do you call that? Because that's what happens inside most retirement accounts. The value goes up, the value goes down. The value goes up, the value goes down. And you're told that's normal. You're told just stay invested. Don't worry. The market always comes back. Or it's just a paper loss. Maybe. Maybe not. The real question is when. Because timing matters. Now, if you're 35 years old and the market drops 40%, that's painful. But you have decades to recover. Now flip the script. If you're 65 years old and the market drops 40%, that's a completely different conversation. Now, time becomes your enemy. The closer you get to retirement, the less room you have for mistakes, the less room you have for surprises, the less room you have for recovery. But yet, millions of Americans are still being told to do the exact same thing. Keep feeding the machine. Keep buying. Keep contributing. Keep hoping. And yes, hope is a beautiful thing, but hope is not a retirement strategy. Now, I want you to imagine something. Imagine walking into a casino. You walk up to the roulette wheel, you place your chips on a number. The ball spins, and you wait. You have zero control over where that ball lands. None. Now let me ask you another question. How is that fundamentally different from putting money into an account whose future value depends on the movement of the stock market? Because neither one comes with certainty. Both require risk, both require faith, and both require hope. Now, before anybody gets upset, let me be clear. I'm not saying retirement accounts are evil. I'm not saying they're useless. And I'm definitely not saying nobody should ever use them. What I'm saying is that most Americans have never been told the whole story. They've been taught the rewards, but they've rarely been taught the risk. They've been taught growth, but they've rarely been taught protection. They've been taught accumulation, but they've rarely been taught preservation. And those are two very different conversations. You see, when you're 30 years old, growth is important. But when you're 65 years old, keeping what you already built becomes just as important. And my argument is that it's even more important. Because if you lose enough money late in life, you may never get the chance to earn it back. And that's the part that keeps me up at night. Not because I'm worried about Wall Street. Not because I'm worried about the stock market. Nope. But because I'm worried about people. People who spend 40 years doing everything they were told to do. Working hard, saving faithfully, making sacrifices, only to discover that their retirement outcome depends on variables they cannot control. That's what happened to me. And that's why I'm making this video. Not to scare you, not to upset you, not to argue with you, but to ask a simple question. What if the thing you've always called investing is actually riskier than you've been led to believe? What if you've been sitting at a retirement casino this entire time And nobody ever told you where the exits were. Think about that. I'm Stephen Cook, and I'll see you in the next video.